It is that time of year again when the ARLA Elite Series presented by Smash Beer heads up north for its annual Canadian tour. This weekend, we return to the Mosport International Raceway in Ontario for the Roush Mosport Grand Prix. This track has become somewhat of a staple on the ARLA Elite Series calendar. I can say from experience that it's a very fun track to drive. It's fast and flowing with lots of good passing opportunities. Duckroll Development has given me the opportunity to drive their 859 car in this race, so it should be fun. Speaking of Duckroll Development, there are some teams that claim that the 859 car has an unfair advantage, and that this became apparent after Nick Howard won the race at Quincy a few weeks ago. Of course, the team is fielded directly by Duckroll Tires for the purposes of research and development, and so they collect data after every race. But some of the other teams feel that Duckroll is keeping that data for themselves and applying it to becoming more competitive on the track. Well, after these claims were made, Douglas Lopez, who is my car owner at Duckroll Development, came out and said that we don't actually get to see any of that data that Duckroll has. So we've been left to our own devices just as much as the other teams. We will bring you more on this story as it develops. Seiju Dejao took the pole for round number 1 of the Roush Mosport Grand Prix. Bixby Foot was on the outside of the front row, but he didn't get as good of a start as the 91 did. So now Foot's going to come under attack from Rachel Rainsford in the 71 car. Rainsford has already won a race this year, coming at Montgomery. Makoto Yamada, who finished second in his race at Montgomery, runs in 4th place. A very good qualifying effort by the 22 team. Trey Ashby goes for the same spot on the track that Tanner Clayson occupies, and the both of them go off the road. Trey Ashby, car number 12 for Brinson Engineering, would go out of the race on lap number 1. This is Claire Ausier in car number 28, a third car for Pearson Sweeney Motorsports. Ausier is a TM Lights driver. She is from Quebec, and Lynx paid for a spot on this team for Ausier for the Canadian Tour. Ausier was in 5th place at the end of lap number 1, although she is now being pressured by Rit Tyler in the 16 for Power Steering Incorporated. This is Bruce Wilkinson in car number 32. Wilkinson was suspended in 2011 for violating ARLA's drug policy. However, Wilkinson went through the proper channels to get himself reinstated, and he is making his return to the series. He is currently in 7th place, trying to impress some car owner out there who might pick him up for the future. Ramsey Cockiner in car 31 gets put into the wall by Andrea Kinasa at the end of lap number 2. Cockiner in 29th place is not off to a good start. Andrea Kinasa is being a bit impatient right now, trying to make her way through the field. Cockiner finished in 7th place at Williams Grove last week. Here is Earl McDermott in the 859 for Duckroll Development, running in 10th place, trying to hold off Jessica Graham in the 59 and Kiriki Itsuno in the 4. McDermott, the native of British Columbia, is of course my usual partner in the OEN booth, and he will be driving in today's race and at Montmagny next week for this team, as Seiju Dejao has to pit from the lead of the race. He's got a terminal problem with that 91 car. The team thought it was a vibration at first, so they changed the left side tires, but it turned out to be a much bigger problem, and Dejao never made it back onto the track. Heartbreak for the Kurt Walker Motorsports team. This is going to put Bixby Foot in the lead of the race. Bixby Foot, his only real noteworthy moment of the season so far was not playing very nice with his teammate Rip Tyler in the closing stages of the rain-drenched Mexico race. This is Jason Bates in car number 2 for Pearson Sweeney Motorsports. Bates getting a shot in that iconic number 2 after not being scheduled to drive the Kurt Walker 51 car this week. Alex Carson will be back in the car at Montmagny next week. Jason Bates not running too well, currently 23rd. Michael Madrigal in the Pie car blows his engine and pulls right in front of Jim Hayes. That's going to be the first caution of the race. Madrigal comes to a stop. Leslie Riggs piles into the back of the pie card, Jason Bates, collected as well. That's going to be the end of the race for Madrigal, Riggs, and Bates, riding on board with Leslie Riggs, who clearly felt she didn't have too many options. A hard hit for Leslie Riggs. Fortunately, she was able to climb out of the car, as well as Michael Madrigal. Coming back to the caution, Barry McIntyre gets put into the wall by Ashley Tucker. McIntyre knows the track like the back of his hand. He regularly competes in Canadian touring cars. However, he's not off to as good of a start as we expected from him today. McIntyre, the surprise winner at Daytona. After pit stops shuffled the field, Jessica Graham is the leader on the restart. Earl McDermott in second place. They both try to make their getaway from the field. McDermott all over the back of the 59 car, and there's contact between the 59 and the 859. McDermott clearly feels that he is the superior car as he challenges Graham for the lead. Graham had a terrible season last year, but this year she's up into the top 10 in points. The sophomore slump is certainly one of the hot urban legends in motorsports, but of course that doesn't apply to Jessica Graham, although she's struggling with that 59 car right now as she got sniped by Rachel Rainsford for the second position. Bixby Foot is all the way back in 24th place after a horrible pit stop under that caution. He's clearly got a lot of work ahead of him as he races for position with Ashley Tucker in the 90 car. Bad luck has been the story of the year for Power Steering Incorporated, and today's race does not seem to be any different as Jessica Graham blows up on lap number 9. Graham is out of the race after leading just a few laps ago. I do hope that we're not going to be seeing a repeat of 2012 in the weeks to come for Graham. Jim Hayes, after getting damage in that last incident, spent a long time in the pit lane under caution, and so he was way behind on the restart. But fortunately for him, he's got a clean track ahead, so he can lay down some fast laps. Here is Laura Cyrus running in 9th place in a backup car after crashing on her qualifying lap. She started in last place and got up into the top 10 after pit stops. She's been doing a good job in that backup car, holding her own. Riley Durbin in the number 86X is making his debut for the Ike Durbin team, the younger cousin of Ike Durbin. The team has a new sponsor on that 86X this week that was willing to take a chance on Riley Durbin. And Durbin is having a pretty respectable start so far, running in 14th place. Scott Dalitz had a mechanical problem around the time that the yellow flag came out. Fortunately, he was able to come into the pits and get that addressed. Dalitz currently running in the midfield right now in 18th place. Although he's shown quite a bit of promise on the road courses, winning at Saitama last year. So we'll have to see if he can work his way up through the field, but the car seems to be handling fine after that scare before the yellow. Dalitz currently battling for position with Harry Asinola. Kyle Gaffigan in car number 07 is up to 3rd place. Gaffigan finished second twice in 2012. During his tenure at Tom Delgado Racing on both occasions to his teammate. Bruce Wilkinson is up to 4th place, continuing his strong start, although he is being pressured by Claire Aussier. Aussier does have a bit of a reputation as a wrecker, but she's kept that car clean so far, as she has been very fast today. Wilkinson is able to pull away a bit coming up the hill. Bixby Foot has made some progress since the restart. He is up to 16th place, trying to chase down Kiriki Itsuno and Riley Durbin. I do believe that Itsuno is being held up by Riley Durbin just a little bit. Andrea Kinasa, after starting towards the back of the field, is up to 13th place. Kinasa has been doing a very good job in this 78 car for Groves Racing. She took over the ride for her late husband, Scott Morales. Both her and Morales' names are on that 78 car in a very nice gesture by the team. Groves Racing has not won a race since Daytona in 2010, which of course came with Scott Morales behind the wheel. But Kinasa, if she continues her performances, I feel she could end up in victory lane very soon, as Kiriki Itsuno gets a bit impatient behind Riley Durbin and puts him into the wall. Durbin getting a bit of a rude introduction to ARLA competition. Bixby Foot goes right on by and takes over the 14th spot. He was very lucky to not get swept up in that. And now Hitsuno in the 4 car finally getting around the 86X, although it took some drastic measures for her to do so. Rachel Rainsford has caught up to Earl McDermott in the 859, although she is not able to make a move at the moment. McDermott is another one of those drivers who is very familiar with this track. He competed in touring cars for a few years. He's never been able to win in the ARLA Elite Series, but he is in good position to do so at the moment if he can hold off Rachel Rainsford. Barry McIntyre with his damage has been holding up a few cars, and then he sweeps up in front of Kevin Monroe and takes himself into the wall outside of turn number 8. He was running in 10th on the lead lap, so he had every right to defend that position, but he just swept up into Kevin Monroe's real estate there, and then Barry McIntyre would have a tire go down. He slows on the track and does a little bit of landscaping for some reason. More problems for the Bobby Dollar C4 team as McIntyre limps that car to the pit lane. Kyle Gaffigan now comes under pressure from Claire Alcier, but these two are going to pit on this lap. Lap number 18, green flag pit stops are kicking off. The leaders are in on this lap as well, McDermott and Rainsford. Rainsford unable to get by McDermott before pit stops, and McDermott retains the lead coming out of the pit lane. Kyle Gaffigan moves up into second. Rachel Rainsford had a very slow pit stop. However, Rainsford has a very fast car under her. I don't believe she requested any changes on that stop, so we do expect her to be storming through the field and closing that gap. Bixby Foot is back down to 20th place after pit stops, so all the progress that he made has been erased. I'm sure that the 14 crew is going to get quite the scolding from team owner William Power after this race. Foot currently being held up by Zachary Zins in the 99 car. Zins in the other road race at Mexico started towards the back of the field and stormed through the field into 5th place. Earl McDermott now being held up by Barry McIntyre, who now has more damage to that rear end after being put into the wall. McIntyre really should be moving over, as McDermott has now been caught by Rachel Rainsford in the span of just a few laps. Kyle Gaffigan in the 07 coming up to try to join this fight as well, and it is now a freight train behind Barry McIntyre. Contact! McDermott puts McIntyre into the tire wall. The caution is out again. Rachel Rainsford sweeps into the lead, and McDermott, in his effort to get rid of McIntyre, is now back into 3rd place. You see Claire Alcier in 4th. I'm not too sure if McDermott's got the car to challenge Rainsford. Rainsford was very fast on the start, taking 2nd place from Bixby Foot. We've got a stack up under caution as Kevin Monroe runs into the back of Andrea Canassa, and Makoto Yamada runs into the back of him. Yamada was really nowhere after the first round of pit stops. He found himself deep in the field, and now he's got more problems as he's got heavy damage to that front end, and he's going to have to pit to get that repaired. Race control elected to not penalize him further, figuring that the front end damage was enough karmic retribution. Rachel Rainsford is the leader on the restart. Kyle Gaffigan 2nd. McDermott 3rd, Alcier 4th, and points leader Taylor Brillen is in 5th place. She's been quietly hovering around that spot all day. And we've got trouble on this restart as Scott Dollitz gets turned around by Harry Anola right in front of traffic, and he keeps it going without coming to a stop. I'm not too sure that this necessitated a caution. He was turned around right in front of everybody, but there was no further incident. Rachel Rainsford continues to lead. Earl McDermott got 2nd place back, coming back to the caution, but Rachel Rainsford gets a good start. McDermott does his best to follow her. Claire Alcier has moved up to 3rd place. Laura Cyrus had a problem coming to the restart. She is out of the race with a terminal mechanical failure. Taylor Brillen continues to hang around in 5th place, trying to challenge Kyle Gaffigan for 4th. Gaffigan really seems to be struggling with that 07 car in the closing stages of this race as a freight train starts to develop behind him. Kiriki Itsuno and Ali Riggs make contact coming into turn number 8, although they get it together. Andre Canassa trying to take advantage of that. And Rachel Rainsford had really no trouble from the 2 Canadians behind her. She comes around the final corner and across the line to take her 2nd victory of her career and of the season. Rainsford has been on fire in that Gravity Racing Inc. 71 car. Earl McDermott collected 6 bonus points today, 1 for leading a lap and 5 for leading the most laps. Claire Alcier, 3rd place in her first ARLA Elite Series presented by Smash Beer start. Kyle Gaffigan 4th, Taylor Brillen 5th, Rip Tyler 6th, Ali Riggs 7th. A strong run for Riggs in her self-owned team. Bruce Wilkinson, in his return to the series, finished in 10th place. Riley Durbin, a very respectable 11th place in his debut. Tanner Clayson, the Tornado Alley Trophy contestant, struggled to a 20th place finish after the damage he got from that lap 1 incident with Trey Ashby. Jim Hayes struggled all day. He finished in 21st place. And Seiji Dejao, 31st after winning the pole and leading the lap. At least he got the bonus points from those. And Trey Ashby in last place after that incident with Tanner Clayson. And now on to round number 2, where Namimura has taken the pole. So Kurt Walker cars on the pole for both races today. Let's hope that Mura has a bit more luck as far as reliability goes. She's off to a good start over Libby Bell in the 24 car. Lenore Scurry, good qualifying effort by Scurry on the Motor Assault Racing team. However, at the end of lap 1, Hector Quinones, the Mexican driver, gets turned around by Richard Scott off the final corner. John Hawks and J.W. Lester, the 114 and 5.0 cars, also collected. Quinones, Lester, and Hawks would go out of the race. Namimura continues to lead on the restart. Everybody pitted under that caution. Lenore Scurry moved up into 2nd place. Kurt Walker, Mura's team owner, up to 3rd. Libby Bell lost several positions. She's down to 8th. Jesus Ignacio Chavez III, the other Mexican driver in this race, into the wall after contact with Casey Lester on the restart. And we got more problems. Richard Scott continuing his reign of terror, turning Casey Campbell around on the restart. Richard Scott hell-bent on removing himself from everyone else's Christmas card list. Once again, the field pitted under that caution, and Namimura continues to lead. The 39 pit crew appears to be very quick today. Libby Bell back up into 2nd place, so that was just a brief hiccup by the 24 crew. Bell chasing after Mura. Nick Azure in the 46 car is going to get turned by Radomir Stanichev in the 82 car. He bounces off the wall, back up across the track into Kelly Splicin. Stanichev gets collected in a bit of karmic retribution. Radomir Stanichev is going to go out of the race. Nick Azure and Kelly Splicin soldier on. Stacy St. Martin, car number 5, gets turned around by Lucas Sweeney in car number 8 off the final corner. Bobby Porteau and Daniel Diamond collected in this incident. We had 3 cautions in the last round in 30 laps. We've now had 3 cautions in the first 10 laps of this race as Cletus McGuffey bounces off the wall and across into the path of his Team Bird teammate Derek Dudding. Kurt Walker, car number 98, blows up in the pit lane. So Kurt Walker Motorsports' mechanical woes are continuing in this race. Namimura has got to be very nervous right now. Lenore Scurry in the 102 has a problem under this caution as well, although her problem is a bit less terminal. She's going to get that fixed up, and she's going to get back out onto the track. Coming to the restart, Namimura was the leader, but she pits along with several other cars. It seems that fuel mileage is a bit of a concern. Even with all these cautions in the first 10 laps of the race, people are evidently not going to make it the rest of the way without additional pit stops. This is going to hand the lead to Lucy Barnton. These will be the first laps that she's led all year, and it will be the first laps that the Eichholz Atlantic 84 car is going to lead in the entirety of its existence. Jack Dempsey is back in that 41 car. He is up into second place. Dempsey, of course, back after his 3-race suspension from running into Andre Kinasa under caution at Texas. He was the victim of race control deciding to lay down the hammer on incidents under caution. Here's Libby Bell riding behind Richard Scott and giving Scott a taste of his own medicine, although she takes herself into the wall as well. This is going to bring out another caution. I'm not sure if that was necessary, but this would have necessitated the caution. This incident happened at the same time. Chavez getting into the back of Stacy St. Martin and taking himself into the wall, although it turned out to be a self-sacrifice for the greater good, as Stacy St. Martin went out of the race as a result of this incident as well. This would be a good break for Nambi Moore and the rest of the cars that pitted on that last restart. They were able to catch up to the field. Eric Jackson, Lenore Scurry, Bobby Porteau were 1, 2, 3 on the restart, but they are going to pit as well. Fuel mileage a concern for them. Lucy Barnton in the 84 takes the lead back. That is Luke Pellerin in the 15 car in second place for M&J Racing. Luke Pellerin of New Brunswick doing a very good job in his ARLA debut. He is all over the back of the 84 of Barnton for the lead of that race. That is Barton Sandy in third place in the 92 car. Luke Pellerin in the place of AJ Young for this race is going to be showing up at Pocono in a few weeks' time for his family-owned team. And if he keeps up this performance, there will certainly be a lot of eyes on him by the time that race rolls around. Jack Dempsey in the 41 car back to 6th place after this restart, being held up by the lapped car of Kelly Splicen as he battles for position with Benji Flynn. Greg Woodard drove this 41 car to the victory at this track last year in the monsoon conditions. Jack Dempsey doing a good job in his place. However, he's right now going to lose out to a position to Benji Flynn. Casey Lester kicked a bit of cash Ali Riggs' way and got himself into that team's 29 car for this race. That 29 car normally driven by Chris Johans, although we've had a few pay drivers in that car this year. Casey Lester's last race in the series was at this very track in 2010, I believe. However, he wrecked on the first lap of the race. He's doing a much better job this time around, as Benji Flynn takes Kelly Splicen into the wall off at turn number 4. A very hard hit for Splicen. However, Kelly Splicen was able to climb out of that car, although she really shouldn't have been in the way of the leaders. Bobby Porteau has a problem under this caution. Story of the year for that team, although Porteau's going to be able to get that 74 car back onto the track. Lenore Scurry is the leader on this restart. We have nobody pitting this time around, so apparently we are through with our fuel mileage concerns. Scurry leads over Edwin Schwartzlowski, who won at Mexico a few weeks ago. Namimura up to third place now. Lenore Scurry is replacing Laura Cyrus over at Motor Assault Racing this year after Cyrus finished 4th in the points for them last year. Derek Dunning gets turned around by Luke Pellerin on the restart. Pellerin was set back in the field after pit stops. This is going to bring out the caution once again in another one of those situations where I feel that a caution wasn't really necessary. Coming back to the yellow, however, Nick Asher gets turned into the wall by Lucas Flint. He then drives himself into the tire wall with really no control over that 46 car, and that's going to take Asher out of the race. His uncle and team owner, Frank Asher, is not happy with the number of cars that he's had to replace this year, and he has threatened to kick Nick Asher out of that car in place of drivers with some badly needed money. Lenore Scurry continues to lead on the restart. Edwin Schwartzlowski, the 707, is all over her. There's contact, both of them in the wall and off the road. Namimura sweeps into the lead as Scurry and Schwartzlowski get back onto the track, but they have both lost several positions. Scurry back to 4th as Joseph Howard tries to move into 3rd. Scurry's got to be fuming at Schwartzlowski's over-exuberance. but Namimura is probably grinning ear to ear right now as she now has the lead with less than 10 laps to go. Barton Sandy, car number 92, is in second place, but he is really no threat for the 39 right now, as Lenore Scurry has now blown up, so evidently that 102 car was doomed anyway. Everything has just gone downhill for Motor Assault Racing in just a few laps. Lenore Scurry has not been able to match the consistency that Laura Cyrus had last year. Derek Dudding becomes Schwarzlowski's next victim, as Schwarzlowski puts him into the wall. However, Dudding was a lap down, and so some say that Schwarzlowski had every right to move him. And Dudding's teammate Cletus McGuffey is now going to become the victim of faster traffic. Benji Flynn turns McGuffey into the wall, and that's going to be the end of McGuffey's day. This will be our 7th caution of the race. We've already doubled the number of cautions that we had in the last round. Libby Bell had a slight problem and had a pit coming to the yellow flag. And now Namimura's pulled to the side of the track. Car number 39 has a problem, and it will be terminal. That's got to be gut-wrenching for Mura, as she becomes the next victim of Kurt Walker Motorsports' unreliability. Mura was on her way to her first win since 2010. Joseph Howard, Edwin Schwarzlowski, and Eric Jackson are going to pit for fuel, so fuel mileage is apparently still a concern amongst these teams. However, we don't seem to have too many takers right now, so we'll just have to see what becomes of that as Derek Dudding blows up under caution. So that's going to be both Team Berg cars out within a couple of laps. Barton Sandy was going to lead on the restart, but he's going to pit for fuel coming to the green flag. That's going to hand the lead over to Jack Dempsey. Casey Campbell, Benji Flynn, and Bobby Porteau follow him into the pit lane. On the restart, Jared Pierce, making his second start in the Tex Harris car, gets turned into the wall by Joseph Howard. However, we don't have an incident, and Pierce soldiers on. Jack Dempsey, as I just mentioned, is the leader of the race. With just 3 laps to go, Dempsey is trying to hang on for Terra International Motorsports' second win at this track, but now he's being challenged by Lucas Flint in the 10L for Lethleiter Racing. Lucas Flint is that team's road ringer. He's only going to be driving at the road courses, although that car is a shared championship bid between Flint and Dan Lechleiter, who is the team's primary driver. Flint sweeps into the lead as Dempsey now comes under attack from Lucy Barnton, who's come back up towards the front of this field. Lucas Flint is making a move for the pit lane. Apparently, he doesn't have enough fuel to make it. Jack Dempsey in as well, so Dempsey was not going to be keeping that lead. Casey Lester gets turned by Ryan Griffin into the tire barriers, and that's going to be yet another caution here on lap number 28 of 30. Here comes the field around the final few corners on lap number 30. This means we're going to have another green-white checkered finish. Lucy Barnton is the leader. Luke Pellerin is back up into second. Ryan Griffin third. The race is going to be red flagged. The lapped cars will be moved off the track. The remaining field is going to be given 15 minutes to repair cosmetic damage. And here we go for the restart. 14 cars left on the lead lap. That's how many cars are taking the restart. Barnton gets a great start, and we've had an incident already. As Barnton leads, Ryan Griffin moves up into second. Eric Jackson got pushed off the track coming to the green flag, and he falls way behind the rest of the field. Jared Pierce was one of the cars that took the green-white checkered, but oh, we got too many cars in too small of a space. Pierce, Flynn, and Barton Sandy all go into the wall. Jared Pierce and Benji Flynn are out of the race. Barton Sandy soldiers on. Ryan Griffin, who forced the green-white checkered, is going to get turned around by Lucas Flint. Flint continuing his reign of destruction here. Remember that Flint was the one who took out Nick Asher earlier in the race. Lucy Barnton has a pretty good-sized lead over Libby Bell, coming through the final few corners on the way to the white flag, but Bell is really closing the gap here. Bell was in contention to win at Mexico until she threw her car off the track in the rain, and she's really closed the gap as the field takes the white flag. The gap is now down to about 3 car lengths, and she's still coming. Bell all over the 84 car, now coming down the hill into turn number 2. Oh, Bell into the back of Barnton. Barnton keeps it together, and she tries to hold off Bell. Barnton going for her first win in the ARLA Elite Series presented by Smash Beer. But Bell has a very fast car under her. They're still side by side, heading into turn 7 and 8, and Bell sweeps into the lead, and there's contact in the back. Luke Pellerin sent around and into the wall by Joseph Howard. Pellerin in contention for a top 5 finish in his first start in the series, taking the place of AJ Young, who decided to not participate in this race voluntarily. Libby Bell trying to build up the gap between herself and Barnton. Bell, coming through the final few corners, is going to take the win for Power Steering Incorporated, the first of the season for that team. And it comes at the expense of Lucy Barnton, who was so close to grabbing her first victory and iColts Atlantic's first victory. Now here is Eric Jackson, who came into the pits coming to the white flag, and here he is trying to finish the race while everyone else is on their cooldown lap. And now here's Jackson trying to find a way around Porto, as if he has a reason to be desperate to do so. And he almost takes Porto into the wall. I'm not sure what Jackson is trying to prove. I guess he's just trying to make the highlight reel. Jackson comes around to take the checkered flag in 12th place. He really did not gain any positions by coming back out onto the track and finishing the race at full speed. Libby Bell takes the win for the defending championship team, Power Steering Incorporated. Lucy Barnton gets her best career finish, although I'm sure she would have liked to be the one doing burnouts instead of Bell. Bobby Porto, after struggling with that 74 car, finishes in 6th place. Luke Pellerin salvages a 10th place finish in his first start after being turned around by Joseph Howard. Jack Dempsey was leading, fell a lap down as he was getting his car refueled, and did not qualify to take the green-white checkered. Derek Dudding and Cletus McGuffey putts their way to top 20 finishes for Team Burr. They were quite happy about that. Kurt Walker out of the race in 26th place. All 3 Kurt Walker cars fell victim to mechanical failures, 2 of them while leading the race. We missed Ryan Matthews falling out of the race. And J.W. Lester brings up the rear of the field after being the first car out of the race, along with John Hawks and Hector Quinones. Taylor Brillen continues to lead the point standings, although Rachel Rainsford, with her win, is chipping away at her lead. Jim Hayes, 5th place, still the top rookie, although Andrea Canassa, who has moved up into the top 10, is looking to chase him down if Hayes continues to have bad luck. Libby Bell, with her win, is up to 15th place. Leslie Riggs drops to 17th. Alex Carson, after his week off, is still in the top 20 in points. We have a couple ties. 24th is between the 7 car at Gravity Racing and Benji Flynn. The tie for 26th is a 3-way tie between JW Lester, the Lecklighter Racing 10L, and Scott Dollitz. Lucy Barnton moves up through the point standings with her 2nd place finish. She is in a tie for 32nd with Barton Sandy, who has not run every single race this year. And Michael Madrigal, after his accident, is 40th in points in the Math Motors car.